stop responding emotionally at work, and how emails and Slack can expose you. This is part of my communication series. I go into not only how you communicate at work, but what your tone is signifying. If you are replying via emails or in person, especially today with a lot of people, either they're still working remotely, they still have those contracts locked in, they're still working remotely, and a lot of times in the Slack channels, depending on, what phase of the campaign or program you're on, you may get a lot of Slack channels, or sometimes you have a curated Slack channel, like everyone that's on that campaign or the key players, creative team, or maybe some leaders. You might have one or two, or like the resource manager, they might be part of that Slack channel. And then you have the other Slack channels, which kind of go to like your direct team, and maybe like 10 or 15 of you guys that are basically, they attend like the status meetings or whatever updates are happening amongst the project lifecycle. You may have like your marketing manager in there, your campaign manager. So those have more participants in those meetings. So those are kind of different Slack channels as well. But what happens is that when you're working remotely, a lot of times if you are working in a high stressful environment, or I like to call it call out culture, right? If you're working in, I know I shared my testimony about when I worked in toxic pharma, that not only was it toxic with the management style, but like a lot of some of the teams were a little toxic as well, meaning I call it call out culture, meaning in person, they act like everything is okay, but via email, it comes across, or Slack channel, it comes across very passive aggressive, or like the tone, you could tell that they're in their emotions when they sent the message out. And a lot of times, if you are on the receiving end of it, it's directed at you, like maybe you are the program manager or whatever, or the campaign manager, and the email is actually to you, right? The Slack channel is actually to you, or the email is to you. But there is like so many people CC'd on it, basically calling you out, right? It's calling you out. It's very passive aggressive. It's calling you out, dressed up professionally. And then you have to then like you read the email and you have to take a minute to respond as opposed to reacting, right? Because a lot of times, like I said, when I always use myself as an example, when you are in a call out culture or high toxic environment, or maybe you're just high pressure, like maybe this campaign has to hit all of the KPIs, maybe it's a product launch, maybe it's launching and you're managing it. So it's high stake, right? There's a lot of stakeholders on it, but all of the team players that are in that Slack channel or on that email, they actually have nothing really to do with it. They're not in the day-to-day of it. They're more so, it's kind of like a need to know, like they don't need to be on the email. That's the point. They don't need to be on it. And then the email comes to you, or the Slack channel comes to you in a very passive aggressive way, and you have to take a minute, and instead of reacting, you have to respond. And the reason why I say this is because I talked about this in my other video, is because when you are in those environments, it's easy for you to, type that message in the same, how they say matching the energy. But when you're at work, you don't want to match energy, right? Like some things that they tell you to do is good for other environments, but when you are working in a professional environment, or even if you're working remotely, you still have to operate with some professionalism and have some decorum with you about yourself. You want to carry yourself in a certain manner in your wording, as well as your email tone in your writing. I also talked about better writing is better equals better pay as well, right? So you want to make sure that your emails, you're not matching the tone of the person that is sending them out. You could tell it's highly stressed. They're, maybe their boss is on their back. Maybe they're following up. They're just following up. They're just a micromanager and they're following up with everyone everywhere. Anyway, you want to make sure that you are responding as opposed to reacting. So you get that email in, and depending on your prior relationship with that boss, like maybe, like I said, maybe it's already toxic, or maybe it's just a high stress moment. That's different. A high stress moment is like everyone's kind of stressed out, so it's more eyes on it. So everyone is kind of looking at the campaign, making sure the product launches on time. A lot of leadership is on it. A lot of money is behind it going well. That's a little bit different. But in those environments as well, it still can come across as passive aggressive, not professional at all in tone or in writing. And too, because sometimes, like I told you, like you get those emails that they're passive aggressive and it's at you, and like A is missing from the word, which tells you that it was typed in an intense mindset, right? They had an intense moment and they typed that email to you. So now you look at it. You want to first breathe, get that in, maybe go to the ladies' room, maybe go take a quick 5-minute coffee break. Some people, they like to go outside. Just depends on your team, your culture. And just wait a minute to respond back. And I say that because if you are working remotely or you're working hybrid, maybe you are in the office 2 days a week, 2 to 3 days a week, or you're coming in the office once a week just for team collaboration and reviews. But then the other days you're working remotely, the energy can shift a lot of times online than it is in person, right? And you notice, because when you work in those environments, like I tell you with myself, I would get an email that was very condescending in tone in the email, or passive aggressive. And then it's like, I wouldn't respond right away, nor would I react. Sometimes I would just do nothing. And then I would get up and go to that person. And then in person, they would totally act like, I won't say gaslighting, but kind of in the sense of like, oh no, just, it's a lot going on, this and this and that, which is fine, right? Because you give each other grace in the workforce as well. But it's like, that grace is not stated in that email. You know what I mean? Like that email went out, that no one says in that email, I'm having a bad day today. I woke up with a headache. The kids got to school late, this and that, traffic, the train was late. No one says that. So they're bringing all of that energy into that Slack channel or into that email and spitting it out to you. Another thing I want to talk about is that because it's happening in email or in the Slack channel, it's easy to screenshot your reply as well. Not only the person that's sending you the email out, because they might, the team might feel like, oh, it's nothing wrong. She's just following up. She's just doing, the marketing manager, she's just doing her job. That's her job, to kind of follow up, make sure the campaign is running smoothly. But the way you respond, react, is, you trying to give them back that same energy, and that's not I gotta laugh about it, and it's funny, but it's not professional, because it's easy. It's so easy to match that energy, and you have to keep it professional, because like I said, they can screenshot, they can forward the email, or sometimes they reply to the email and then blind copy other people. And this has also worked in my favor too. Like I mentioned before, when I was in a toxic environment with the toxic boss or whatever, and her email tones, and I started blind copying the VP on all of our correspondence. Like every email we had, I would, because she wasn't in those meetings. When you're dealing with VPs, or even like someone like a project leader or whatever, they're not in those day-to-day meetings, so they're not managing your relationship with your team players. So I started blind copying her on those emails, just so like she could see the tone that is coming to me, not more so what I'm responding and saying, but just so she could see the tone and just so you can run it past someone else to make sure it's not only you. Because again, if you don't have a good relationship with that boss or that environment, it's easy for you to take things personal as opposed to things being personal, right? It's a difference. And like I said, high stress times, high stress times of the year, like Q4, we already know they're bringing in freelancers. A lot of people are dropping the ball, but if you're permanent, you're still expected to. You might have to manage those freelancers, making sure that they're good to go, because sometimes it just depends. The freelancer, they might not be vested into the work like you are as a perm person, but it's going to fall on you because it's your responsibility to like manage that whole, not only life cycle, but manage that client relationship. You will also notice that the same thing happens as well when you are dealing with, if you're on a client facing side and you may be dealing with a client, because not every client is a good client. Sometimes you have bad client, like they're not good. They're not effective with how they communicate. They're very passive aggressive, or they're not clear. It's a lot of spin. So you have to find a way to sort through that and make it make sense. And then in your reply, you just want to say that, like, you don't want to call them back out and say, I need A, B, C, and D. You need to step away, go to the ladies' room, come back, maybe walk around, go downstairs, whatever you need to do, and then reply back, respond back, not react. Because again, especially if you are sometime when you're 1099, right? When you're 1099, you are also pitching, right? You're pitching yourself to get clients, but you don't know the client relationship yet with you, how they work with you until you're on board. And sometimes it's too late. It's like it may be 6 months, it may be a year that you signed on for, it depends, and you might not be able to just get out of that relationship as fast because there's penalties for you, coming out of it. If it ends on their end, it might be less, it might not be a penalty like that. So you have to just be really, really careful with how you're moving and reacting and responding. And like I said, making sure that your tone stays professional, because you getting promoted is also how you not only manage teams, but also how are your email tone with leadership, right? How are you too emotional in your emails? Are you too flat in your email? Like, which one is it? And granted, you're not going to have a great relationship with everyone on your team, and that happens, right? Some people, their relationship they've been working together longer, they hang out on the weekends, they may also be friends. It's just different. Your relationship may be more professional. So again, and depending on, maybe you have a good relationship with that peer, that leader, but he's also like is still working with you as a peer as well, but also a manager. But maybe the person over them doesn't really care for you. Doesn't really care for your staff. So you have to make sure that you are responding properly, professionally, taking a break, coming back, writing, because again, they can screenshot, they can forward. In my case, I blind copied my VP just so she could see that I wasn't making it up. And also you can use the way the Slack channels are, especially in Slack if you're working remotely, or like if you're working with heavy Slack channel, it's so easy to like copy that thing and just paste it. It's easy to just paste it in your boss's or whoever's board and be like, how does this tone sound to you? And again, give people grace, give yourself grace, but give others grace. But again, when those emails are being fired out to you, they're not telling you all of the things that happened before that email was sent to you. So they're taking all of that energy and they're giving it to the person. So you do not want to, in a professional environment, or even if you're working 1099, you do not want to match their energy. I know that that's more like street advice, like, oh, match their energy, but that's not in a professional or work environment or any environment that you plan on getting promoted in. Of course, so if a company is paying you high six figures, mid six figures or whatever, or high rates, they're doing that because they can trust you to be professional. in your mannerisms, in your tone, in how you communicate with people? Do you, let emails fall by the wayside? Are you responding right away? Do you even flag it and say, hey, I saw this, give me 10 minutes, I'll reply after 2 p.m., right? Because how you communicate is also part of being professional, meaning you're not just letting stuff, ignoring it because you're not really feeling the person. You still should respond anyway. Even if I'm tabling this and let's revisit it later, even if you reply back to that whole chain, hi, so-and-so, yes, I got the email, looks like we're good to go. Any more questions, we could talk about it in tomorrow's meeting. Also, I put a one-on-one on with you. I set up a one-on-one with you so that way we could talk about this more in person or on Zoom. Just so that way your response to them still seems professional. So again, like I said, this is a short video. This is part of my communication series. I'm not going into all of the styles of communication because my content is more tailored to mid-level and high level. But also, of course, when you're coming in at your entry level, you want to make sure, they might not have, you're not as under that much scrutiny when your rates are low, right? Or your entry level, like there's a lot of grace. But the more you go up that ladder, the higher they pay you, the higher companies paying you these high six figures or these high contracts. They're locking you in for that. They're not only locking you in because of your work, they're locking you in for your professional mannerisms in your emails, in your tone. How do you communicate in Slack channels? If you are working at a remote only company, and if remote only, but the team is kind of toxic, you definitely want to take time and respond appropriately. You definitely want to take time and say, I set up a one-on-one with the team. I set up a one-on-one with you to go over the particulars. You definitely want to take time and say, oh, I'm setting up something with the group, maybe 5 of us, just to talk through this and have a better understanding. And it's totally different than if you Slack channel them by themselves, just with you. Then you get to hear like the car was stuck, the taxi, I was in traffic, this and this and that, or I woke up with a headache today if you're working only remotely, or the line was long at the store, I try to get some errands in, just depends. So I want to again make sure that you guys are not only being equipped but responding professionally, not reacting, right? Because it does affect your pay and it does affect your promotions as well. Anyway, if you're enjoying this type of content, if you love fashion, you love technology, what's happening, what's going on, you're also in the retail space or you're trying to get into the retail space, this is a series all about that, how I use different roles to kind of pivot through companies, from sample coordinator, how that allowed me to attend sample sales. So a lot of my experience allowed me to get into, well, I was already in fashion, but you know what I mean, like have access to fashion shows, sample shows, all of that kind of stuff. Because a lot of things back then, I know with me, it was, you had to be invite only. It wasn't like on Evite. It wasn't none of that going on. It was more exclusive. So yeah. So anyway, if you're enjoying this kind of content, like and subscribe. I also have a fashion blog as well, which I'm getting back into. I had to kind of make some tweaks to it. My Pinterest, all that stuff is going on as well. But anyway, like, subscribe, and it's back cold in New York. So I have a hoodie on. We went from 80 degrees and today it's like 55 or 60. So I also, like, I'm back in a hoodie today. It's craziness going on. But anyway, have a good one. Bye.